Greetings from Chicagoland. Welcome to another episode of Munira's Musings. This is a series that we are doing with Cialdini's book, Influence. And we all know that influence is something that we all need to infuse our lives with. Our guest and our co-host with me today is Krishna ji, who is here all the way from India and joining us from India. So he's a Cialdini junkie. He's understanding this a lot. And he's also helping me understand this whole concept of influence and how we can infuse it. One thing that we have always heard from everybody is people will like you, once they like you, they'll trust you, and then they'll buy from you. And we've heard the gurus talk about this a lot. So how can we infuse Cialdini's principle? Well, before we start, this is our third series, and the first series we just talked about Cialdini and his work and what prompted him to write a book. And he's of course a professor and a doctor. Cialdini is a professor, so he always looks at science behind this and the studies that everybody has done. And then the last week we talked about reciprocation, and we talked about how this could infuse our business, but we gave you a few tips and tricks on how to use the reciprocation principle in your business and how you can create the influence that you need. See, most people, there's a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of people who want to become a coach or who are trying to become a coach. And this is an industry that is growing and will grow in the next 10 years. But how do you stand out? And how can we take this one man's teaching and influence our people and infuse our business to do this? So without further ado, we want to talk to Krishna ji, who is going to help us understand a little bit. And of course, it's a discussion, so we are going to talk about this. If you guys, my listeners, thank you for being here. If you are interested in sharing your thoughts on all of this, then go ahead and just jump in. We are looking at Facebook. We're going to see some of your comments. So if you see that, if you want to add something, please go ahead and share that with us. In the meantime, let's jump into the liking principle. So what is the liking principle and why is this important?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. As Cialdini says, according to the NIDA's core social influence model, there are three things which will make anybody to say yes. One is about building relationship, but only relationship will not help you to do that. One of the important things is to reduce the uncertainty, and then the third one is to make people commit to what they are saying as yes. But in that first part of what we are talking about, the first part is about the relationship building. In that relationship building, the last series we talked about reciprocity, that is about give first something to valuable to people, and that is how they will reciprocate back. But the second one is about the liking principle that we are going to talk about. When I say liking, it is about how do you build relationships by using this principle. Now, we said in the last session, there are activators and there are amplifiers which are there. Activator is about something which activates this principle. Amplifier will amplify this principle to the maximum effect there. But now when you talk about the activator, there are three things which are there. The first one is about the similarities. If we know that the other person is similar to us, we start liking them. And the second one is about how do you genuinely praise and compliment for people for what they are. And that helps you to build up this relationship there. And the third one is in the professional or in personal anywhere. How do you cooperate with the other person? That will actually help you to build relationship and make things easier for you. That's about the activator on this. Munira, I'm sure many times when you meet somebody for a first time, what is that you look as? What are the similarities that you have? Does this normally happen with you when you interact somebody for a first time, unknown person or something?
All the time. See, like for example, I work in a clinic. My other job is a clinic. I'm not a clinician, but I am a practice manager, and I do a lot of project managements for them. But
Yeah,
when you have a new patient that comes in, you want to smile at them, and the first thing you want to know is how how can you one they're here in the same place, so that's a similarity. They are here for service, I'm here to give service, so that service part is very important. So and then the liking principle in what I explain, what I think is what I do is I look at um the play when they give me their insurance card, it's like, where do you work at, or what do you work as? Because we have to write, are you employed? And then just because this data is tracked, right? So if you're employed, then who is your employer, and I just ask a little question is, so what is it that you do there? And people just tell me what they do, and it's like sometimes it's so similar because they're an author, or they're a teacher, or they're a coach, or they're just, it's not always the 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 fancy titles, but sometimes they do very interesting jobs. Like we had a patient yesterday who worked with autistic children, and she says, I work with autistic children. That is a lot of
yeah,
patience. That takes a lot of patience. So the thing is,
yeah,
how does she also is in the process of, she's also in the business of helping. So we try to find that commonality. Or there is a person who comes from Africa, right? And he has a very heavy accent. And we talk to them and say, oh, you're from Ghana? I'm from Kenya. So we share that little bond of we are being of the same continent. Even the countries are far apart, we are still sharing that bond that we come from that one continent. And so always looking for that similarities. Does that
yeah.
answer your
I think
question?
no, that's a good one. In fact, there was a good case study which was there saying that there were two parts of negotiation which was there. One group was given saying that nothing to be discussed before the start of the negotiation, get straight away into the negotiation and start the negotiation and then see what is the success rate. But there was a second group of people who said, before you start the negotiation, start and understand something about each one's mutual interest. What are the common things which they like? What are the common interests which they have? And then start the negotiation. The moment you know what the other person's common things, common interests which they have, and similarities that they have, they found that the negotiation success rate in the second group was far, far better than the others. Now, you might say, how does this help? I think it's important when you go for a professional meeting for the first time with a customer. It's good to go with the background about the LinkedIn profile and see which college he studied, what are the interests that you have, and what are the areas that he has got a lot of liking towards this. And then when you go and meet him, you pick up one of these subjects and say, I saw that you are a soccer player. And then I also like soccer. That has to be genuinely there, and then you see the context and the conversation itself go to the next level itself. And that's the first one is what I'm talking about. Like what you said about the countries, cultures, anything, even the language, so many things you can find out similarities. It's good to do that preparation before you go for that,
Okay.
right?
That so
Yeah.
that's the thing. But sometimes, we when we are in a society where we go all the time, there isn't enough time to figure out
Yeah.
the similarities. So how can somebody else figure out what this person likes?
I know what you're saying. Everybody is busy, but I think the first thing is that even if you're busy, it all takes about 5 minutes to understand what the other person and show your liking and appreciation of these things. I say the first one is that the first one, what you said, is also an amplifying factor that how many times you smile to a person whom you are not known to him. And that's the first one that you show. And you see, when you are speaking on the phone itself, and that's the old saying, which is that smile as you die. The moment you pick up this phone, you smile and say, "Hi, this is Krishna here." That itself shows that the other person is recipient to you. And you're also showing liking towards them. In fact, I always say, Munira, if you ask me, can you ask me, how are you? Can you ask me, how are you, just?
How are
Yeah.
you, Krishna?
I'm absolutely fine, but after meeting you, I got delighted. The moment I say this, there is an instant smile on the other person's face just by showing these simple things. And many times in our busy schedule, we don't even know what is their name. But if you name is something that most people are, the most loud word in the entire world is their name. And my always feeling is that the best way to build up that liking is to call their name within 20 to 30 seconds 3 times. That itself shows that you're liking.
That's true. That's true because now you see that when I call companies in say like insurance companies or when I'm calling companies to verify stuff, they will always do that. So that's a good principle to add. So there is the fact that they're using my name several times is a liking principle in effect already. They've put it in effect. But
Yeah,
so going back to my previous question, that you want to find common ground to figure out if this is a similarity, how you are similar to that person. And
yeah,
long ago, years ago, when I was working as a pharmacy buyer, I used to have sales rep come all the time.
yeah,
I didn't have time to sit there and talk to them, but they would talk to me and then they would start talking about the games, the football games. America is big about football, the football that
yeah,
there's rugby like football. So they would
yeah,
talk about that and they talk about the teams and everything. That was out of my league. I never understood that. So I would always look that. But I realized one thing and I noticed that then they would come back and start talking about my children and how is school going and things like that. So they changed their way of talking to me because they understood that I didn't like sport. I didn't do sports very well. Okay. So then they started talking about my kids, which were my whole life. That's all I did was kids. So then they were, they would bring that topic in and they realized that by talking to me about my kids, even for 2 minutes, hey, how's it going? Do they play any sports or what projects are they doing today? Then me talking and beaming about my kids was just that they're genuinely interested. And it wasn't just like they heard me and then they left. The next time they came in, they would always bring that subject up and they would talk to me about how that particular project went or that assignment went. And it to me that seemed, it was genuinely. So for me, I think that is a principle that everybody should incorporate and infuse in their business because they're genuinely interested. And for tips and tricks for people who are listening, if you do not remember, you're meeting a lot of people, have a notebook. You know, what I learned from somebody a long time ago, and I do it now when I meet a new person, I have a recorder on my phone that I use for myself because I want to capture some of the moments and I just record them. I don't tell them that I'm recording them because I don't use it against them. Then I go back and then I write the notes in my notebook as to likes, dislikes, what they're having problems with, and then I delete the recording because sometimes we are talking so fast that we forget to capture the key things. And the recorder, if you're listening to it again, then you think, oh, you know what, this person said this, but I didn't catch it during that time. But now I can infuse my proposal or the next meeting I have with this person, I can put that together and work with this person. So it helps, I'm not asking you to use it against them. I'm using it for your sake, and just write the notes and see, make sure that I don't tell them, and I don't know if it's legal or not. So I'm not a lawyer. I'm not playing one on TV, but I'm just telling you this is what I do. And then I delete the recording because I have the notes that I need. And it's very hard to write when they are talking. So this is one way that I've learned to just take notes and then go back and then write. I have a whole book of people that I have met, and I keep about 10 pages for myself, because those people are what they like, where I've met them, how what their issues were, and all of that stuff. And then I add to it by putting dates on it. So each person has about 12 pages, and then the next person starts. And it works. It works for me. So this is my system, just a tip and trick that I'm sharing with you. Another thing that I also wanted to ask, wanted to share, is that when you don't have time to figure out, or you don't know who this person is, I have always used social media to figure out what this person is saying, because they're putting it out there for people to know what they are doing. And so you say, you know what, I saw you went to a certain museum, or you went to this game, or you did this something, you went skiing with your son, with your children. So how was that? And they'll think, you know what, this person really looked me up, and they really enjoyed that. And the fact that they were not stalking you, but at least you can have something to converse about. So what are your thoughts on that, Krishnaji?
I completely agree. Everything what we are talking about is to have a small talk before you get into the actual business. And that small talk will help you to understand the other person. In fact, one of the things that is to show that you like the other person is basically about asking some good questions in the beginning of the conversation. For example, when I go to my sales meetings or something, when I meet somebody for the first time, I say, before we start the conversation, can I ask you one question? And I say, what's the secret of your success? And the moment I say secret of your success, he's so happy to share that secret to me. And he's so overwhelmed. And sometimes the conversation goes beyond saying that for 10 minutes or 15 minutes and keep on saying this. It's all about how much you show liking towards the other person and know more about that person and show a genuine interest so that they feel safe with you and they feel comfortable with you. And that's how the relationship to start with will happen on this. That's where I say that small talk preparation is very, very key to do.
So the liking principle has a good foundation, but
Yeah.
what other scientific studies have we seen that Cialdini has done that we can even talk to our viewers about?
Oh, yeah, there was a one wonderful study which was done at the KPMG. And the KPMG is a big organization, and they wanted to find out how much is that account managers, when they have a relationship with the accounts, what is the likelihood of getting more yeses in there? And they found out that if there is a non-existent or a weak relationship with that account, their success rate or getting yes is only 30%. But if you have a moderately strong relationship with the other person, then the more likely you're going to get about 45% of the time yes to your proposal in anything, whatever you ask for a request. And then if you have a very, very strong relationship which is there, then you're likely to get 65% of the time yes to your request. When I say yes to your request, it could be of your meeting, it could be a proposal, it could be of anything which is there. But the idea is to get more of yes. And that getting yes is the secret to success. And if you ask me, in fact, I ask a lot of people, how do you know that your relationship is good with customers? They might say it's good, it's excellent. What is good? What is excellent? What is very good? I think they can also have certain parameters to measure and say, how do we say whether we have a likelihood of, our relationship is good or not. But that's a wonderful study to from KPMG to say that if you have a strong relationship, your business is going to grow on this.
So,
That's one case study, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
right. So the thing is, was this done with Cialdini's help, or was this something, an independent study that KPMG did themselves?
Now, what happens is that the Cialdini, what he has done is, it may not be his own study, but he would have also picked up the study which is done to relate this principle of liking in the relationship which is going to be there. So it may not be his study which is there, but it could be other study that he has published and he has used it to communicate this message as well, is what I see out there. And I'm sure you would agree with me, Munira, that one more thing which is going to be activated is how genuinely you compliment somebody that will actually help you to build up relationship. For example, when you meet somebody at the office or something and you say, wow, that's a lovely office, if you genuinely compliment, that itself will also make them feel happy about them and safe about them. What is your thought on this, Munira?
I think that's why, when you go to law offices or big, I worked at KPMG, right? So
Yeah.
here in Chicago, it's in downtown. It's a very beautiful, lavish facility.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
you go into the building and you go to the 57th floor of this building, and the first person, when you step out of the elevator and you go into the double doors, glass doors, the first thing that you see is a person just sitting there. And this person just sits there, literally, just doesn't do anything, but just sits there and smiles all day. And she gets up and she says, can I help you? And when you say, I'm new here, I don't know what I'm doing, then she'll show you around the office. And then if you have any questions, and KPMG has 9 floors on this building. And on each floor there is a customer or a liaison, they call it, and she's there just to help you. She'll help you. Basically all the floors are kind of the same, but there are some things on one floor that the other floor doesn't have, so she'll explain to you where you can find stuff. And if you are in
Yeah.
any kind of a pickle, now this is for the employees. Now what happens if there is a guest, right? And so if there is a guest, then there's somebody who's going to smile at them. We see this in law offices. We see this in doctors' offices. We see this in high-end offices where somebody is always there to, hey, how can I help you? And that, I think, part of it is just making that person comfortable, especially if you're going to go to a lawyer's office and you're going to know you're going to drop some money there, because if you go there, you have to spend some money. And they make it easy for you to open your wallet, right? So if the lawyer offices can do that. Now, small business people who are here trying to, people like me and you who don't have a corporate office, then how do people incorporate that into, how do you incorporate that into our
Yeah.
business?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think there are many ways that you can definitely show, even if you don't have a corporate office, even if you have a small shop or something, a good smile signal and a welcoming message itself can attract most of the people as well, right? That's where I say. In fact, I'm sure you would agree with me, Monera, if you go to any office and if they put up a small board and say, hi, Monera, welcome to our office, that makes you feel so good about yourself, correct? And that's how you start doing this. And that's how that boards are earlier kept, and that's how you can use this. It's not that you require a fancy office or something just by doing this. And I also say one more thing when somebody visits your first time place, I think it's a genuine appreciation for first time when he comes in time. You can also compliment him and say, hey, that's wonderful. In spite of this busy traffic, you are able to make it in time for the meeting. That's a genuine compliment that you give. And the guy starts smiling at you and you start liking. These are some things, simple things that you can do on that.
Those are good trips, but I think one of the things and I'm answering my own question, so forgive me for that, but one thing that just crossed my mind was that, if you are a small business and you're trying to incorporate this liking principle, have a Zoom meeting, right? this is what exactly this is about. Just have a Zoom meeting. So
Absolutely.
this person is right in front of you and you showing them. I had a meeting with a friend of mine that I haven't talked to. I mean, we were in a class together, we were in a study together, and then all of a sudden we kind of lost track. And then I caught up with her on Tuesday and I said, you know what? I really need to talk to you. Let's catch up together. And the first thing she was like, the first thing she got on and she was dressed very well. And the first thing she said to me is, "Oh, it's you, and it was like we were just in a class together. It wasn't like we were best friends, but the fact that she made me feel welcome was just amazing, right? And some people, and in my clinic, what I have started doing, because when I was looking at this study, I started thinking about how can we make this more personable to everything else. And you just have to keep incorporate these little things that you learn in everyday life. So why we had frigid cold last week. We was so cold. It was just amazing. And people had to come to their appointments. Many of them canceled because they didn't want to have frostbite and everything. But when people came, we asked them, hey, we have coffee. Do you want some? Or I understand it's cold. So if you want to warm up first, we had a heater there. We said, do you want to warm up first? And another thing that I've started doing is just calling their patients by name. I've gone to doctors' offices and they've said, your name, who are you? So they make it seem like you are there bothering them. But if you just say, are you Miss Barnes? Welcome to our clinic. Is this your first time or have you been here before? And over time you realize that this person is coming back again and again, but just little things, and make them feel warm and welcome. They want to come back, and this has allowed our patient population to go up by 10%. It's not much, but
Oh, that's
it's
fantastic.
10%. So we want to make that happen, and not only the front desk but also the MAs, the doctor herself. She's amazing at what she does, but it has to be a unified effort to make this person welcome. And we had this one person said, I've gone to several physician offices, but you guys are having fun, that you like doing what you're doing. So I appreciate that. And then she called her insurance company and changed us to her primary care physician. So that also helps. So if we can do it in our brick and mortar business, we can also do it with our business here.
What you said is right. There are two things that what we have looked. First one is about the similar interest that what we have. Similarity is what we have. And the second one, what we looked at was basically about complimenting the other person genuinely so that we feel safe and appreciated. And the third one, which we are talking about activator, is about the how do we cooperate with each other. One of the best things that we must talk to our customers is basically tell them that what is the shared interest that both of us have got. In fact, when I'm talking to my customers, I say, look, your interest is to train your people. My interest is to help your people to get trained on this. That's how we both have got a mutual interest. When we both match, all the other factor remains the same. In fact, there is a wonderful case study which Cialdini shares that a 9-year labor and contract negotiation study rated negotiators as average or skilled. And they found out that negotiators failed to identify shared interest and goals of 50% of the time. And the average negotiator was not able to understand what is the common goal of that negotiation itself. But if they are able to do something about common interest and the shared interest, understand this, then the negotiator were able to successfully complete most of the negotiations on that. That's a very, very interesting case study. That's why I always say when you go to the negotiation table, talk to them, what is that we both have a mutual interest in this? And if you put it on the table, both will be able to do very good on negotiation on this. And that's how I always say when you have a little conflict, the best one to put up is what is it we both want? The moment you say that, then everything will come to conclusion.
It's a
And that's
puzzle
the
that
likely
comes
thing.
together, right? It's like a puzzle.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
puzzle that comes
Uh,
together. I get it. I get it. And talking of puzzles, I was working with my grandson the other day, and he he just wanted to do what he wanted to do. But when I showed him how to, that we want to build this together, let's help each other out, he felt, and I sometimes have to act like I don't know stuff with them. So then I said, I don't know how to do this. And he started showing me how to look at colors and how to look at shapes and say, put this together. All the triangles go in one side, all the blues go in one side, and put all the yellows together. And the way he was talking to me, the idea was to put the puzzle together, but his ideology was that he was teaching me. But the fact is that this 5-year-old kid was teaching me not to put the puzzle together, but how to use the liking principle to put this puzzle together. And we did it together in 7 minutes.
I absolutely, completely agree with this. What we have seen is about how do you activate this, but one more, what we said is about the how do we amplify this principle of liking. And I'm sure, Munira, most of the trainer, as being a sales trainer, I have attended most of the sales training. And I've also read a lot of books, and most of the books they said that you must ensure that the customer likes you. And that's the rule number one. But according to Cialdini, that's not the rule number one. But the rule number one is that you must genuinely like the customer first. And then he feels safe. And then possibly, I agree that the customer should like me, but that's the rule number two. But how do you show genuine interest on the other person? That makes this principle amplified on that. And that's where what we are talking about is to, one of the best way is you yourself observe from tomorrow onwards, those who are listening here, they can observe and say, how many times we are able to smile to an unknown person? Okay, that determines that how comfortable you are giving it to the other person on this. You see sometime in the list, or you see sometimes for the first time some customer, are you able to smile? This is what we say. And as you said, Maria, you always ask about what is a case study. There was a beautiful case study which was there on a shampoo or a cosmetic bottle which was there, and they had four varieties of the bottle. The first variety had a little smile emoji which was there, and the second one had a no smile, normal one, and the third one no reaction, and the fourth one little down, that is about a little angry or something. And they wanted to find out how many people pick up these bottles. And the result showed that those which had a smile had 38%, and those which had a normal was 35%. And if you are not crying or something, I think it shows only about 8 to 10% or something.
But
Now, you
is it,
might say, how do you, yeah, go, yeah.
go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. Sorry.
I said, how do you apply this? Basically, is that you see, most of these successful brands, if you see Amazon or anything, they've all had that little smile which is on that. And now you can ask the question, and then we can discuss about how we can apply this into our business as well as what we speak. Go ahead.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I was just going to say that, we have companies like Amazon, and then we have companies like Hasbro. They all have a little smile. They have a little squiggle
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
that shows that. So why does this smile make big trends? I mean, why is it helping other people? And why does just as it's not our picture, it's just a emoji, a line, a squiggly line that denotes a smile. But why is that such a big impact?
Oh, I think the first one is to understand whom do we smile. We smile to people whom we like. In fact, I asked this question, how often you smile at your wife when you go home? How often you smile at your child when you go home? Even if they're angry, if you smile at them, everything cools down. And that's what is the research everywhere it is studied that the smile is the first interaction, first the signal that you like the other person. Because the more you smile, you're showing that I like you and I'm giving you a safe atmosphere to use what you think. What do you say about this? Everywhere is what I see. Wherever it is there. You go to an airport and if that ticketing guy smiles at you and says good morning, and you feel so happy about it. And you go to shop and somebody gives me a warm smile, you feel happy about it. Yeah,
It's true because like I said, everything I learned from my kids and my grandkids, and they are all a different personality, and I learn every day. So I was there with my son a few days ago, and he has a son who just turned 5, right? He is the naughtiest person ever. He just jumps everywhere. He is just, but he's a boy. He's 5 years old, and he thinks he is Superman, Spider-Man, Hulk, everything rolled into one. And so when you get angry at him, he just looks at you like this and he starts smiling. So when you're angry, you're literally angry because he may have gotten hurt or something and you're mad, but he's smiling. And the thing is that your anger dissipates, right? You just don't feel angry anymore. And then you're thinking, do I get mad at this kid or what do I do? Right? What do I do with this kid? So with that, if a child can do that, if children can use this principle and make us happier after such a catastrophe that has happened, then why can't we use that in our business? And so the whole
yeah,
idea of using this principle is to infuse it into our business.
yeah. In fact, Munira, this is where I am saying what I made some of the changes based on my course that I went through with Cialdini is that he says we are all into online business, and how do we ensure that this principle is demonstrated even on online business to improve the conversion? I think the best part which I liked was to say on your social media profile, whether it is LinkedIn or whether it is Facebook or even your website or a landing page, I think it's important to put that smile and a welcoming message to them. When I say welcoming message, you can say, dear, hi, welcome, I'm happy to have you here. Or you can say, welcome, delighted to have you here. Or hi, welcome, I'm happy to help you, is what you can write. Any of these messages with a little bit of smile that is there. And that's why you also see any of the LinkedIn profile or a Facebook profile photo, if you have a smile with a headshot, your people who get connected to you will be 4 times more higher than the normal one who does not have a smile. And I want you to change. I mean, in fact, if you have a LinkedIn profile, look at your photo and say, if your smile is coming out very nicely, and is there a welcome message? I promise you, this is going to make a difference to everyone.
There you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, the thing is, the liking principle is about smiling, one, and then also figuring out what your relationship is with the person and how
Yeah,
can you impact their lives in the first 5 minutes after
yeah,
you meet them. And again, like I said, the gurus say people will buy if they like you, trust you, and they'll buy from you. So that liking starts with just being genuine and figuring out similarities, figuring out a smile, and that one thing, one little change in your profile or something is going to help you. We've talked about a lot of studies, and Krishnaji just shared that, just give a welcome message on your website or something that allows them to see, hey, you know what, this person is truly genuine. So what else can one person do before we close out? What else can one person do? Small changes, like I said, telling the addressing the patient by their first name, or talking about, hey, it's cold out there, do you want to stand by the heater and be warm, things like that. So what can we do in our business if we don't have a brick and mortar, apart from changing things on a website? Do you have any ideas, Krishnaji?
Oh, yes. I think the first everything boils down to what's your persuasive goal. You want to build up a relationship. I think the first one is to prepare very well. And when I say prepare very well, study about that social media or something and get an idea about what is the other person interest that he has got. That's one. And the moment when you meet somebody, I think as you said, use the name and ask some good question to understand and make him comfortable to share a lot of things and give a genuine compliment to people at the appropriate time on this. And apart from that, always use the words like we both have a shared interest to communicate on this. That's where the fourth one is when you go and meet somebody, you forget that somebody has to like you. That's up to them. But the best part is that you like everyone. That's where you will be able to make influence people on that. And that comes from a behavior mindset that everybody is good. Every human being is a wonderful soul. I have nothing to do wrong to these people. And that's why I go and like these people and smile at these people. And that's where everything boils down to building relationships. This is my word that few things that you can definitely do.
Right. And you say something. It's not about the other person liking you, it's you liking them. And finally, just before we close out, I just want to tell you that in the book, I don't know if you've read the book, but those of you who have read the book, they talk
Yeah.
about this sales guy, right? Who averaged selling
Oh,
five
yes,
cars.
you're talking about Joe Girard.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I
He
completely
was
agree. Yeah,
he's listed in the Guinness Books of Records. And the fact is that even this was before Cialdini. I think Cialdini studied his strategy and everything, but this guy has his name in the Guinness Books of Records, and he was selling 5 cars every single day. Now, how does that happen? If you are in the car sales business, then you know that's a little bit difficult. But he sent out a card for like Christmas, New Year's, or some holidays, and just because it was a just because card, he would just send something out and say, "I like you." That's it.
absolutely.
And people went to him because it's nice to get a card, just a card. It's always nice to get a card, and when you get a card, you feel good about yourself. So if that happens to anybody, then you start thinking, oh, you know what, this person likes me. Then the power of reciprocation comes back in. Say, if they like me, then I should like them
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I want to share something very interesting which happened a couple of years back. This is my personal experience, but what is important is to sustain. But what was the experience was that I was a part of the Rotary meetings. Okay, I was the secretary of our club. And we wanted to bring that Rotary group, everybody together and all that. One simple strategy we used, and it created a real remarkable difference in the way I interact with them. That strategy was very simple. On the birthday or wedding anniversary of the Rotary member or their children's birthday, which is there, I used to come onto the video and make a personalized wish for them by saying, "Hi, so and so, I wish you a very, very happy birthday to you," and give some message to them by video message to them. And that created so much of impact. Now, I want to carry that forward and say, if you have a customer where you like him really and he has done something, I would request you to do a personal video to him as a message to him, and you see the difference that happens. Your customer will really appreciate what you're doing. That's my tip for the day.
Oh, there you go. See, get on video.
Go
Get
on.
on video.
That's what I'm saying. Go on to the video and tomorrow wish somebody that his birthday or wedding anniversary, you say magic happens there.
I think that's a very powerful strategy because Google sends you a birthday wish on your birthday. They know.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then doctor's offices. I know a dentist when I was when I was in California years ago, and I visited him. He would send me a message, and he would send me, it would be a text message, and even to this day he sends me a message. I have not been his client for years, literally over 13, 15 years, but still he sends me a message, and it's good to be remembered. And even though now we have automation, but the fact remains that you still send a message to this person and say, I, I'm thinking about you. It's just that little nuances. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a very amazing segment on liking, the principle of liking from Cialdini's book. If you haven't read it, then you should, and see if you can incorporate any of these studies. We both, Krishnaji and myself, are both Cialdini certified coaches, and we are also practitioners of this. We are trying to see if we can infuse our businesses, with our friends and our clients, to see if we can incorporate these principles. And the best thing about this is the fact that these principles have been scientifically proven. They've been looked at by researchers, and then he's incorporated all of this into his book, Influence. So if you don't have the book, please try to get one. If you need more information on how you can get the hands on your certification program, either reach out to Krishnaji or myself, and we can help you with that. And if you like any of these principles, we are going to go next week with unity, the principle of unity, and we're going to talk about that. But if you have any questions, if you want to figure out anything, reach out to us. We are on Facebook, we are on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram. Are you on Instagram, Krishnaji? So he's on
Yes.
Instagram, and
Yeah.
just talk about this, just ask the question as to, hey, how do I take this to the next level? I want to help people. I want to help myself. And it's the little things. Whatever we learn today, we have to infuse it. We have to add it and spice our business up. And little changes make big wins. That's what Cialdini says. That's what John Maxwell says. Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing. All this, whatever we have talked today, does not require money, does not require too much of time, does not require too much of effort, and still they get huge return on investment. And that's the best part of Cialdini's work. It's all about science, ethics, and applications that gets you there.
That gets you
And
there.
when you join the next session, you're making one more wonderful decision for yourself. We appreciate and compliment you for making that decision to join the next session. Next session is on next Thursday, and it's going to be on one more fascinating principle that's on unity.
We'll talk about the studies that are out there. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next week with the chapter on unity. Thank you, everybody, and have a good week. Thank you, Krishnaji, for being here.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Munira's Musings. We hope that you found today's conversation inspiring and useful, so that you can continue making progress towards mastering your own niche. Please tune in next week for another episode, and in the meantime, you can follow us on social media at Munira's Musings on Facebook, and leave us a review wherever you're listening to podcasts. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to another episode of Munira's Musings. We hope that you found today's conversation inspiring and useful so that you can continue making progress towards mastering your own niche. Please tune in next week for another episode, and in the meantime, you can follow us on social media at Munira's Musings on Facebook and leave us a review wherever you're listening to podcasts. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.